My name is Dr. Njoki Ngumi. I am a member of the Strictly Silk team together with a crew of amazing people, and we're really happy to be here. This month we're talking about money, and it is my complete pleasure to have one of my very good friends here to discuss this. She's not just here because she's my friend, she's here because she knows her stuff, and she's really amazing at talking about money, finances, and not just that, but how those things sit in context, within systemic context, within structural issues, and also within the family, etc. And I want my friend to introduce herself.
Yes, so my name is Kellie Murungi. As Njoki has said, I teach about personal finance. I've, for the last 11 or 12 years, run a personal finance blog. And then I have an active social media presence on Twitter where we talk a lot about money. And then when I'm not tweeting, I work as a Chief Investments Officer at East African Power, which is a Rwanda-based energy company. And I have a long history working with entrepreneurs in fundraising and in financial management.
It's a massive pleasure to be here with you today. I think one of the things that I love you already, right? But one of the
As I do you.
But one of the things that I like most about our friendship and our relationship is that we're able to talk about personal things, and then we're also able to talk about like wide, overarching things,
yes,
and teach one another very profoundly.
Yeah.
And that one of the things, and that was the main reason that we really wanted to speak with you for this particular edition of Strictly Silk, where we're talking about money, we're talking about investments, and the ways in which women have to negotiate these things from very difficult places.
Yeah.
Is because now we also have to think about, because the place of a woman in a family then dictates the ways in which she moves money within that family, or the place of any marginalized person, or someone who experiences marginalization from the point of view of a marginalized entity, has to think about things that way. And we talked about, the thing that affects Africans so much, especially as regards black tax. And it can even be reframed to looking like you need to invest in your family. You need to, that your family are now your investment. And the ways in which people build up a really quick resentment around
the expectation.
Exactly.
Around the expectation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we talked about honesty and where to begin from a place of honesty as regards like understanding where you sit within this black tax conversation. And I wanted you to tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So the thing is, and I'm glad you started by saying we talk about things at a structural level and then the personal. Yeah. Because at a structural level, there's, as you say, that dissonance and resentment and the appreciation of the fact that this is structural. It's not a personal failure. We are operating in a system that is set up in a way that disadvantages certain groups of people. And in our context as Africans, we are in an economies that, because of neoliberal economics, there is lesser chances of social mobility. Fewer of us make it out of the system.
And you mentioned that even those chances, because of how we sit generationally, they're
becoming fewer and fewer. And I like to say this, and when I look at the village where I started, the initial standard 1 in Muringombaine Primary School, I think only 2 of us made it out of the village. And so it's structural, and it's good to have an appreciation of that structural thing. And then you bring it to the personal, where the reality is, historically, what we call black tax was actually a community structure of support. Because it's labor. It was parents do the labor when they're strong, and they raise these children, and then when the children are of age, they then take over the labor.
Yes, because now they're strong.
Now they're strong, and they take care of their parents. So it was never, what can I call it? It was never a burden. It was the natural way things worked. But then now, in the capitalist context where we're operating, it's become a burden, especially because for our generation, then we're sandwiched. If you are a millennial, from the older ones to, I think, the year 2000 and so, those guys are how old now, 20? Yes. Actually, if you're in the millennial generation, you're right now supporting your parents, and then you have maybe children or children of siblings that you're supporting. So you're sandwiched here in the middle. And the reality is, you will end up with a situation where our children will need more support than we needed from our parents, because like you said, the jobs are reducing. And so if you find yourself there, the first step to avoid that feeling of resentment and helplessness Because when you think about it systemically, it can look like it's all hopeless. What's the point anyway?
Yes.
Is to come from a place of honesty of who you are.
Radical honesty.
Radical honesty, and what your family situation is like, and what the expectation is. Because often the way we socialize, it's very easy to socialize in a way that denies your reality.
Or that assumes that we're all dealing with things equally when we're not.
Equally, yes.
Yeah.
Because you will be in a group of friends, and one, has their job and they're paid very well, and it's just them. Their salary is theirs. You may have another one who's paid the same amount of money, but their rent is paid by their parents, or they have an apartment whose down payment has been paid. And then there's you came from the village and you did well for yourself, and you're earning a lot, but you're expected to support your parents, and you have maybe 3 siblings you need to take through school, and aunties and uncles.
Yeah.
You're the village star.
Yeah.
So it's important to know that the fact that you have those responsibilities means realistically you will not live the same life many of your peers do. And this radical honesty, Njoki, sometimes could mean choosing a different community, depending on how, because also our friendships, sometimes may not be able to be very honest about what we need to buy, what we need to spend, how we budget, and our challenges.
So you might find yourself spending, and then it leaves you in the red, but then your friends are fine.
Your friends are fine, and you're not able to tell them, look, guys, I can't afford that trip to Atamu, I can't afford Naivasha this weekend. And the way you've built the friendship, the ways you bond, are ways that involve money.
Yeah.
And so if you find you're not able to live your honest truth and still enjoy the friendship, sometimes it means communing with people who share similar values and responsibilities, or who can understand. And I mean, you and I know this. Sometimes we take a walk at Jeffrey instead of drinking coffee at Java.
Yes, we do.
And so the kinds of friendships where you can say, guys, I am in a tight spot. Can we go to Karura this weekend?
Yeah.
As opposed to going to Atamu. And if you find you can't have that honesty in your community, then you want to shape a mini community of people who are sort of like you.
Yes.
And also understand that that doesn't mean you're enjoying life less. It means you're finding ways to enjoy life that don't mean you then getting stressed about money.
Yes, and that we also did mention that doesn't mean that the people who want to spend money are bad. It just means that they're on a different path.
Yeah, that's their reality is different from yours. And in Nairobi especially, we have that resentment of, these people are getting scammed, flying I don't know where when they could be taking SGR. No, it's just their reality, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then the second level of honesty is with your parents.
Yes, and that's where we were now going to talk about have the meeting.
Have the
Say
meeting.
the things.
Yeah. First, realize the dynamic has changed. The
Yes.
fact that you're contributing to the family means, as much as it may not be recognized, you are a decision maker. You're influencing decisions.
Yes, even if people don't treat you like one.
Even if they don't treat you like, and that's why you have to say, I need us to understand each other. What are the expectations? Do you expect me to support siblings, or do you also have expectations in the extended family that you need me to meet?
Yeah.
And there you have to then put firm boundaries, unless you have a lot of money, to say that, look, I can only help my siblings.
Yeah.
I can't help everyone. In the siblings, is it periodic? Am I paying fees for the high school one, and then you guys handle the primary one? And then if it's your living expenses, is it forever or is it for a period?
Yeah.
And what are the things I cover and you cover? I always say, unless parents are totally unable to earn an income, if they're incapacitated in some way, I don't recommend that you take over 100%, especially if you're alone. Because ultimately they're the parents, you're the child.
Yeah.
And at some point, it may mean even doing some financial education. And this is where we talked about, say, retirement support.
Yes.
If your parents are headed to retirement, you need to start having those conversations. Hey, what's going to happen when you retire? What will you do with the lump sum that you'll receive? How do we set it up to make sure that you're getting some income from that, and I'm topping it up, or I'm supporting you so I don't have to keep giving you money forever.
Yes. So like with this lump sum, I can top up the lump sum so you can do a bigger thing.
You can do a bigger thing. We can build some small rentals. We can put money in an infrastructure bond so that every year you're getting this interest, and then you do it with it as you want. Because the trick, again, with the longer life expectancies, which is great, is your parent could retire at 60 and you have 30 years with them.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be paying black tax for 30 years. You want to set them up so that then you only come in for emergencies, not every day, every month.
Absolutely. So I really love what you've said about a systemic solution that deals with the fact that this person is going to need income.
Yeah.
So I set you up to get that income yourself, not me being the income plan.
Not you being the income plan, because, I mean, stuff happens.
Yeah.
COVID happens.
Yeah.
And then the third level of honesty is with the beneficiaries where they are siblings. Because what I've seen in many families is parents do this weird thing where they want to be helped.
It's so weird.
But they don't want the siblings to know that you're helping.
It's very divide and conquer, and you've said this before.
Yes, it's kind of divide and conquerish, where they're like, yeah, so we are paying fees, all this expensive money for you. So they want the younger ones to revere them for the sacrifices they're making, without making it obvious that it's the older one who's actually doing this.
Yeah.
And what happens is that then the siblings, the kids, do not have a true picture of their family finances. So you'll end up with a situation where they say, oh, I have a sister who's rich in Nairobi.
She's
and
done
drives
nothing
this
for
car,
us.
and she
Our
does
parents are struggling.
Exactly. And we need to go live with her. And by the part of black tax is also that expectation. If you have a sibling who's jobless or who's doing college, they come live with you. That's black tax.
Yes.
And so I always say, if we are siblings, we are siblings.
Yeah.
So if I'm paying school fees for a sibling, then we will have a sibling conversation about it.
Yes.
Because the relationship is different. So we are making these sacrifices. Why? Because as a family, this is how we look at these things. And then when it's your turn, this is what will be expected of you.
Yeah.
And then the third layer is where you have a number of siblings who are working and you're the easier child. And parents then will always say, oh, Njoki, the cow broke the fence yesterday and now, another one has mastitis, it needs, I don't know what. And every time you're the one being called because you're the easier child, you're easier to guilt, or maybe you feel you're closer to the parents. There again, as the
also, you're the one who's single, so people assume that you're not doing anything with your money.
You're unmarried, you have no children.
Yes.
So pesa yako haina matumizi mingi. So I always say you have to now create boundaries for either marshalling everyone and saying, guys, parents need this help. What do we do? We split equal or according to how much we earn. Yeah. Or telling the parents, we are many, so please call us for a meeting. Let's agree how we will support. So you refuse to be called aside and whispered to. That divide and conquer again. Yeah. You again, and all these things, Njoki, call for a level of adulting, of knowing that your own retirement is priority. The needs will always be there. You can give and be left with nothing. And it doesn't help anyone when you give more than you can afford, because then you're sort of enforcing that cycle of poverty. Yeah. If my retirement is not sorted out, I'm passing it on to my child. So it's critical that I am taking care of my own finances before I sort anyone else's. Because when I take care of mine, I have solved that problem for the next generation. Yes, and in fact, as we now shift into talking about now the money that is there for you yourself, I think it's really critical to then say that the minute you set a boundary, that boundary is going to be tested. It's going to be tested. It's going to be tested very severely. Yeah, it will be, and sometimes emotionally. And I remember when we were chatting before, we talked about this, where once you start supporting family, the dynamic changes. The needs even change. The needs change, and even the way they meet your emotional needs could change. Yes. Because as we said, historically it was expected. Right now there is something indignifying about a child supporting a parent from the parent's perspective. And so as a grown-up, you may even not get the emotional support. So you can't expect your siblings to sibling you in the same way, especially if you're, for instance, supporting the children of an older sibling. No, or your mother will not mother you in the same way. In the same way. And you also have to grieve that loss in a sense. You have to grieve that loss, and you have to create, and even the boundary setting sometimes creates strain.
Yes.
Because you may have to take hard decisions to say, I will not do that. No, I don't have money for this. And that's what I say, where the bills are continuous and you put them in your budget, once that money is finished, it's finished. It doesn't matter that, you know, you went and you invested 100K in an infrastructure bond and you bought a plot because you're taking care of your retirement. You don't have money for that cow and you don't have it. And of course, that creates strain.
And that there will always be the guilt. There will be the guilt of, you are living in an expensive house. You would have more to give us if you lived in a different house. Unajiona, you are seeing yourself
you're driving
as...
and I don't know what. And I always say, the other thing is, honestly, if there's an unequal financial dynamic, they don't need to know how much you earn. Not because you're hiding, but because the purchasing power thing doesn't translate.
Yeah.
Someone may not know you're driving your small car because if you're to Uber, or if you're to use a matatu, you won't be able to do your side jobs, which make money for you to do this. So you end up creating this pockets of resentment that are unnecessary. And so I always say, be deliberate about creating community.
Yeah.
If you have a family that's able to navigate the black tax and still be loving and caring and be there for you, that's beautiful. That's the ideal, you know, where we all set boundaries and we all understand that Kellie is doing her best and Njoki is doing her best. And we are happy with our children. But in many cases, there's that unequal thing.
Yeah.
And there's always a feeling that you could do more.
Yeah.
You're just not doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think at this point, I wish we had longer, but we don't.
Yeah.
So now this is when because you'd mentioned side hustles, and we were talking about actually, are side hustles for everybody?
Are side hustles necessary for everybody?
Yeah.
No, they are not for everybody. And I always say, you know, you start with saying, what is the problem you're fixing? Is it that you need more income? That's one problem.
Yeah.
Or is it that you're in a career that you see has a dead end and you need a business that will help you transition out of that career? If you need more income, there are many ways to fix that. And
within your career.
And a side hustle is one, yes, but also within your career, there's growing your income within that career line. So those are two. But if you need to transition out of employment, then it's a matter of strategy. How much investment do you need to put in your side hustle, in time, in resources, in systems, so that it can get to a point where it can employ you full-time?
Yes.
And you have to do your math when saying, what is full-time employment? It is not that it can pay your rent, because your employer pays your rent, pays your PAYE, your taxes, which we don't see,
yes,
pays your day-to-day living expenses, pays you 21 days every year to rest, and pension, and many other benefits. So can your side hustle cater for those? And if it can't, are you comfortable with it, where it will leave you financially?
Yes.
Because there is the business and then there's your personal. And if you spend 10 years building a business that doesn't work out, it means you've forgone 10 years of savings, of investments, of personal finance growth.
And there's a thing you said earlier, which was actually that please be honest about the sector that you're in.
Yes.
Because like for you, you're in finance.
Yes.
And there's a way that finance can pay you that you doing things by yourself.
Yeah, would not. And a very realistic example, I mean, where I've worked for 15 years, right? Today, I know.
Yeah, it's such a big deal.
Look, when I started out, I said I'd not be employed for even 5 years, but see where we are. These things happen. But today, any business that wants to hire me for their services has to have existed for at least a decade. It's an old, mature business. Because one of the nature of the service they need, but also how much money they need to pay me.
Yeah.
It would be fantastical for me to think I can start a business today and by next year it will start paying me what I'm earning at my current job. Like
you'd need to be 1,000% the exception.
I would need to be that Silicon Valley billionaire with VC money.
Yes.
And then secondly, there's the other where if your business relies on the name, I'm a head of digital marketing at Scanad. I'm earning X 100,000 shillings. And I say, when we do a job for this client, we bill $1 million. Maybe if I left and I did the same proposal to the client, I would earn $1 million. And that $1 million would be all mine. But what we fail to see is we're able to charge $1 million because it's on the Scanad letterhead. Once it is on Kellie and daughter's letterhead, it will not be It will not be $1 million. So you need to be sure when you're using your current job to evaluate potential in business.
Yes.
That you're pricing all these things in.
All these other factors.
And we are brilliant. I mean, when I raise money and when I stand in front of a funder, I'm sure I say brilliant things, but mostly they're funding the business that I work for. They're funding that letterhead. So it would be very different if I left East African Power and started my own upstart power generating company, and then I go to IFC, like, give me $1 million.
I think you're a little bit wrong for having colleagues and upstart.
They look at me like, and who are you again? I'm like, you remember me? I'm Kellie, and yeah, we are funding that infrastructure. So you need to calibrate that, right?
Okay.
Calibrate the fact that there are benefits your employer gives you, that the business needs to give you, and then the final question that I ask is, be sure that the value you're bringing is clear. Because sometimes it could even mean I need to just set up systems and have a manager and have the business run by itself. Because, and I experienced this when I was farming. I could leave my business to go and be a farmer full time, but I don't think that business needs my skills as such. So you end up just being an overlord who watches as people do their work, but not really someone who's bringing clear value to the business. So those are the considerations. It won't pay back as quickly, and it may not pay everything your day job was paying, and the check you get cut as an employee of an ex-company may not be the same check you get.
Yes.
As an employee of your own company.
Which then adds things like, maybe it's other values that you're seeking, which is fine. It's like you want to be working in a different kind of sector. It makes you feel more fulfilled. Like as a human being, all of that is fine. But if you're talking money-wise. But also, yes, those other benefits, autonomy, building something that one day may be big. Yes.
You have 10 years and all that. So the other thing that's important to say, especially in our economy, is not every side hustle has a big goal of becoming, the next Uber or the next Facebook or the next Scanad or
even the next Naivas.
Or the next Naivas or Tuskies or, big design company.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are doing these things to survive. You need to pay bills and you need extra income. And so you say, on Saturdays, I will go to Gikosh. I'll select camera shoes or camera jeans and I will sell to my friends in my little IG shop.
Yeah.
That's okay. The one thing to make sure though you have is the energy to actually do that. Because again, we are gifted differently.
Yes.
I, for example, am a low energy person. By Friday, I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to sleep.
Forget it all.
Yeah, till Monday. But there are people who by Friday, they are charged. I want to go to Gikosh and spend 6 hours. I'm gifted in terms of social media. I can put up an IG shop. I can monitor comments. I'm gifted in terms of posting. I can be an influencer.
I can bake cakes.
I can
and
bake
people
cakes,
love them.
Yes, and
I
market
can bake
them.
3 cakes a weekend.
And market them. And get paid for that.
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't have to grow into a big business. You don't have to feel that strain if that's not why you're doing it.
You can just say that I need 25,000 shillings more every week.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to get me there. And then when I reach the place where I don't need this 25,000 shillings more every week, I can say it's been great.
It's been great. And what's important there is if you're trying to grow your career and you have this side hustle for survival, is to be careful that you're using your energy right, because your career is your main goal and this is survival. So what I see sometimes happening is, if you're very good at what you do, it will want to grow. And now you're stuck in this conflict of, it's now Tuesday, do I take a work meeting or do I bake this cake?
So now we have to go back to the question that you asked in the beginning is, what was this for?
What was it for?
I see.
What was it for?
Let's finalize by talking about, and I hate that we're so rushed.
Yeah.
Because the way me and you should have sat here.
2 hours, 3 hours.
This is the thing. But let's finalize with the thing about being good at your career and how to start being able to measure your value at your career and being strategic about asking for more if the thing that you have is actually a job.
If you want to grow that.
Yes.
That's the way you want to
because
grow.
We've talked about how to grow a side hustle.
Yes. If you have a high potential career and you really want to grow at your job, I think the first thing is at the beginning to be very clear of what are you paying me to do? What are the objectives? What are the goals I need to meet for this period? How will we know I have met those goals? Employers and managers are not used to being asked these questions, but they should answer those questions. Even if I am coming in as an intern, is why am I coming in here? How is my performance measured? How will I know when I'm doing well?
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And then the next thing is, as you're doing your job, be meticulous about documenting your wins. Because especially as women, we forget. And where it's a high pressure, high learning environment, you remember the things you didn't do right, more than the things you did right. And then it's performance appraisal time and you're struggling. What have I achieved? What have I done? So you want to have a diary where when it's performance appraisal time, you're looking at, oh wow, this is all I have done. And then the third thing I advise is don't wait for that performance appraisal meeting. Do your performance appraisal for yourself a month, 2 months before the meeting.
Give us an example of your guy.
Yes, and I had a colleague, and I hope even if he watches this, he'll forgive me because I totally loved what he did. Young guy, 2 months before his performance appraisal, calls me for a meeting and says, look, I know my performance appraisal is up. I wanted to present to you my thoughts before that. And he'd taken the template, put in what he's achieved, put in where he's fallen short and why. And then at the end, his growth areas and where he had exceeded expectations. And then at the bottom, he'd said, I am currently earning this. I've earned this for this time. I think I've exceeded expectations. This is my pay expectation for you to consider. So I'm not ordering you to pay me this after 2 months. I'm just saying within this time, as you think about my performance, think about also, this is where my pay expectation is, and this is how it compares to that position in the company, to other people, not the title, other people who are doing things that I'm doing in the company are earning around this. So consider that. The thing that thing did, because again, having led people, here's a confession. Everyone scrambles for performance appraisal. No one sits and thinks, how is Njoki doing? It is, oh my God, we have a call with Njoki tomorrow for her performance appraisal. Give me that template.
So even you're just kind of trying to get it done.
And they type, and as all human beings, it's easier to think, what did Njoki do right? Right?
Yeah.
But then this person put their performance at the front of my brain.
So they actually made it easier for you.
They made it easier. Because then I was looking at, okay, this makes sense, and looking at my own notes from our meetings, and I feel that
they align.
Yes, and they align. And what that does is that then for your manager, they may not pay you the 150,000 more you're asking for, but they won't offer you 10K and say, no, I think you're worth 10K. Yet you've demonstrated, I am actually worth this much in my opinion. And sometimes they may even come back and say, look, we don't have 150. We have 70, but this is how we can get you to where you want to be. So that confidence of knowing this is my worth, this is what I'm asking for, and then being able to, like without resentment, work on a middle ground.
Yeah.
Say that, okay, you can't pay that, but what else can you offer me? Is there education? Can you copay my degree for me? Can you do this for me? Can you,
Yeah.
Without resentment. And going back again and diarizing, and you keep building your career that way. And what that does also is, should you get to a point where you feel this company cannot pay me, roho safi, they can't afford me, then you have your own achievements for the next interview.
That's true.
And for ladies especially, I say don't shy from shopping around, even when you're happy.
Even when you're happy?
Even when you're happy. Because our culture says this thing of, if you're being appreciated, if you're working your passion,
oh my God,
money, it doesn't matter.
Especially to women.
Yes.
So it's framed like also like being in a happy relationship.
Yes.
Like now you're monogamous with your job.
You're monogamous and it doesn't matter, and we do this a lot. We're like, they don't pay me enough, but they're so nice and flexible, and it's such a family environment. For me, I tell women is you should always be shopping. See how much, and because we don't talk about money, people take advantage of that a lot. So you think you're being paid well until you have a conversation in the company and you realize, hey, or even in the industry, and you realize people are being paid more. So I say, don't be shy to keep sending your CV out. Go for interviews, see what is out there. Go get till the offer and see, okay, maybe I am worth more. And again, it's a market. There are no feelings. The same way if your employer could replace you, if they got someone cheaper to do your job as good as you did,
they would replace you.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
They would. And it's not about being disloyal.
No.
It's about being realistic about our worth and asking for it.
Maybe the thing that we can say to finalize, like final,
yeah.
Is this idea of, because that exchange, this is what I am good at, it can be a very stressful one,
yeah.
especially when you've not done it before.
Yeah.
So maybe the thing to do is to either get a friend that you can run it with, those kind of cutthroat capitalist friends, if you have one of them, or if you have like a career mentor. Yes. Right? Someone who's gone before you, someone who knows you, so you don't go to a stranger to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And then you say, I want to do this, let me run this scenario with you, and then see how, what comes up in it for you.
What comes up, but also, that's also usually a red flag. Because if I'm in this family environment, but then when it's time to talk about my performance, it becomes tense. Then it tells you that it's not really a family environment.
Because it shouldn't be tense.
It shouldn't be tense.
We should be able to talk about it. If I'm making mistakes, I should know.
I should know if the company is recognizing your worth X, but we are not able to pay you because of P&L limitations. We didn't make as much money. That should be open. But where you find you have a manager who makes this discussion a tense one, or this funny energy, then again, you know that chances are they actually could pay you more, but they just won't.
Right.
They just won't.
Or it's not the healthy environment that you thought it was.
It's not the environment that you thought it was.
Okay.
And where it's cutthroat, then you know it's cutthroat.
Okay.
And then you have to find a way to navigate that. Yeah, but watch out for those where we are family, then when it comes to pay, everything closes up. And then final one, if you're in an organization, form tribes. I've done this before in workplaces where you find maybe it's a heavily male workplace, and as women in management, we know we are one team, and you'll be surprised the things you discover. You as you're joining, you're told this is the maximum we're paying for this role, and then when you get talking, you realize, hey, yeah, this other person was told their maximum and it was lower than yours. So that openness also helps you strategize and realize also if you're being underpaid, overpaid. Final one for women, networking. Networking, being free to say, look guys, I'm looking for a job.
Yes.
We all have these two friendships, but we never, we feel like it's sinful to introduce business or introduce
or money,
job seeking or money. Yet you find the other gender does that very well.
Like deals.
Deals, connections, this.
I know a guy.
And these people are hiring. You just send in your CV.
In fact, I called that guy. So by the time you go, labda ata your kazi.
One thing I found that has worked for me that I'm shocked it took this long to do is, one, let people know you're looking. And then two, when you've sent an ad as a referral, like these guys are hiring, don't send an application. Ask to be introduced to the person who is hiring. And then speak to them first. That is it's like your CV has gone past the sorting stage already. Yes. So don't just send, if someone refers you a job, don't just send a blind application. Say who's hiring and can I speak to them? Can I have a call?
Who's hiring? Can I speak to them?
And ask, and in that call, then you're saying, I've seen this, it's interesting. Do you mind having a 30-minute chat? I want to see if it's a fit, and for you guys to see if I'm a fit, and then I can apply. Most hiring managers will be like, okay, fine, let's talk. You've been introduced by Njoki, who I know. Let's have a call.
So if you have a network connection that you can exploit it, cash that check.
Cash it. And it hasn't failed. And especially once you're past the very junior stages, most people hate hiring. And so if they can also shortcut that by getting someone who knows someone who performs, then they'll do it. So have that preliminary call. And then, of course, then you'll send your CV directly to them. So by the time you're getting into the recruitment system,
the CV is not entering the pile.
It's, of being sorted first by the algorithm, where you may make it.
By the algorithm, and then by the people who are under the person that you talked to.
Absolutely. So that's I think the one tip I'd give when it comes to now moving across. Networking and referring each other, and
It's really interesting that we started talking about honesty and that we've ended talking about honesty.
Yes.
Yeah. Money and honesty, man.
There is no way to escape. You have to be honest with yourself, honest with your family, with your friends, and with each other. Because, I don't think there's any other way.
Thank you so much. You're amazing.
So are you. This has been really nice.
It has. It really has. I think we were forced to distill so much, but it was helpful.
Yeah. It was gonna be a 3-hour movie.
It
was. 3-hour money movie.
It really was.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.